Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. I just wanted to do this video instead of just showing you a routine or some kind of routine exercise. I decided to do a discussion topic video so I can share with you some of the things I've learned while I've been doing all these years calisthenics, and hopefully we'll be able to give you good advice, and this video is going to be helpful. So just let me know if you're gonna enjoy this kind of content. So I'll be thinking about doing more in the future. So first of all, today's topic is gonna be about strength. So regarding specifically calisthenics, strength. So I like to approach things looking at the science. So that's why one of my favorite channels is Calisthenics, because he's not only giving advice in terms of exercises, but because he's putting the science back in strength, as one of his main titles says. So what the science says is that our muscles are made pretty much of two fibers. The slow fibers that are pretty much slow in contraction, but that can endure a lot, so are very resistant to getting fatigued. And the fast fibers that are manageable to do very fast contractions and generate a lot of force, but at the same time they get fatigued pretty easily. And then there is a third kind of fiber that is the intermediate fiber, that is pretty much mix between the slow and the fast fiber that shares similarities. So it gets fatigued more slowly, but at the same time it can generate more tension than the slow fibers. That's pretty much it. So based on how anatomically our muscles are built, that means that the strengths that we have, depending on the fiber that we are talking about, are going to be pretty much two. So you're going to have the strength that is going to be developed by using the slow fibers in the muscles, and then the strength that is going to be developed by using the fast fibers in the muscles. So by the slow fibers, you develop endurance strength, so the ability to do multiple contractions and generate not a lot of tension, but generating enough tension and sustain it for a long period of time without getting fatigued or I don't know how to say it, overtrained, with the muscles. And then the second one is the strength that you develop with the fast fibers, that is the power strength. So the strength that is generated with those fibers when you contract them, and you're able to generate enough force to win a weight or to win a resistance of some weight, and therefore you can pull or push your body in different directions and in different ways. So that's pretty much the two strengths, the two main basic strengths that the body has, just looking at how anatomically our muscles are made. But the cool thing about our body is that we are not like robots, so we're not like do all this or that, but our muscles are a mix of slow fibers, intermediate fibers, and fast fibers. So some muscles are going to have more fibers, more fast fibers than slow fibers, so they're going to get fatigued more easily than the muscles that instead are made of more slow or intermediate fibers. So that's why you can't really isolate the strengths. So you can't really train a muscle to work only on the power strength or to work only on the endurance strength. You're gonna have pretty much the muscles to work prevalently on endurance or power, but these strengths are gonna just mix, because at the same time, when you're trying to push or pull against the resistance, so you're trying to train the power strength. At the same time, if you do multiple contractions and you're trying to do a lot of reps you're training at the same time the endurance, because you're trying to increase the amount of reps that you're doing in the same set without resting. So, and at the same time, when you're trying to increase the endurance strength, so you're trying to like do an exercise for a very long period of time, that means 5, 10, 15 minutes, almost non-stop, or with very little rest. At the same time, you need still some kind of power to be able to execute the contraction. So you cannot really isolate these strengths. You always train in a way that you use both of them. So these are the two basic strengths, so endurance and power strength. But of course, there are some other strengths, let's call them like this, but that are subcategories of the main two, that are the holding strength, so the isometric strength, so the ability to hold the muscle without lengthening or shortening the fibers, so in a fixed position against like against the gravity or against some kind of weight. So just looking at the most basic example of a hold, imagine a front lever. All right, a front lever is pretty much a hold when your muscles are not really neither contracting or relaxing. They're holding that position, so they're holding isometrically that position, and therefore you need to, in order to improve in that kind of strength, so in the strength to hold the body in a fixed position, you have to train in that way. So you have to train in holding the body in that position. So there isn't no other way to train and to get better at the front lever or the planche or whatever other hold you can do, other than doing exercises that may help develop the strength necessary to be able to hold that certain position. So in case, for example, of the front lever, you can do the tack hold. So you start by doing the tack hold. So you start to, improving the strength of your shoulders, of your back, and a bit of the abs in that position. Once you get strong enough, you're gonna pass to the advanced tack. So this time it's gonna be more challenging. So you're gonna need to train there to be able to develop enough strength to hold that position. Once you can hold it pretty good, then you're gonna go to the half lay. I think it's the next step, and then once you can get an half lay pretty well done, then you go with the front lever or the straddle front lever first, and then the full front lever. So as you can see, those are all steps that are going to ultimately help you achieve that hold position in the front lever, and therefore develop that holding strength to hold that body in that position. And at the same time, and there is another strength that is a subcategory of the power strength, that is the explosive strength. So the explosive strength is very, very similar to the power strength, because of the fact that explosiveness means doing a using power strength fast, so doing a fast contraction. So there are really not a lot of cases where you can isolate explosiveness from power, because they are pretty much the same movement. So the explosive movement is just doing a powerful movement, so a power movement in less time, so trying to contract fast. And that's why even if you don't really target primarily, there isn't a way to target primarily the explosiveness, because if you're already targeting the power strength, you may be able to complete a lot of explosive reps even if you do not really train directly for them. So imagine doing a clapped push-ups, clapped pull-ups. That's an explosive exercise, right? But if you can, actually imagine a muscle up, right? That it's a bit more advanced. So a muscle up, it's a mix of explosiveness, power, and a bit of technique as well with the elbows. But that's pretty much it. So if you're not really targeting, for example, you're not training with clapped pull-ups to do the muscle up, it doesn't really matter, because if you're able to do 20 pull-ups in a row with good and clean form, and you can do some, I don't know, 30 dips on bar in a row, you should have all the power that you need to be able to execute a muscle up, even if you haven't trained never the clapped pull-ups or high pull-ups. And the reason for that is because the explosiveness of the muscle up is just being able to execute that power movement faster. So that's just it's not really as the hold, because the hold is it's different from like training for endurance and training for holding a position. It's different. Instead, training for power or training for explosiveness is pretty similar. So I think that's it pretty much. That covers every kind of movement that you can do in the calisthenics. So it's very important, of course, to be able to improve in all different strengths. It's important to train for all of them. So it's important to train for the power strength, so training for reps pretty much. Training for the endurance. Endurance is specifically important regarding the heart, the breathing, and the legs. So it's pretty hard to isolate endurance exercises for like the chest or the back or the arms, because of the fact that, as I said earlier, some muscles you cannot really isolate these strengths. They go together. So while you're training, for example, for endurance strength in the chest, you're training at the same time the power strength. So you cannot really isolate them. Instead, for the legs, and especially for the heart, the breathing, you can really isolate the endurance strength from the power strength. Just think about how different legs can appear from an athlete that trains to run a marathon, or an athlete that trains to lift as many kilos as he can with a 1 rep squat. So his legs, even if the muscle fibers are the same in both of them, but because of the different training, their legs look very, very different. So that's why I say that the legs especially is the only muscle in the body that you can really differentiate and isolate the endurance or the power strength. So of course, the athlete that runs the marathon needs to have a bit of power, because otherwise he would run slow. He needs to run for a long time, but he needs to run fast for a long time. So he needs as well that bit of power strength as well. And at the same time, the athlete in his training also trains for like 8, 10, 15 reps, even with a lot of kilos. So he's training a bit his endurance strength. So you cannot really absolutely isolate the two strengths from one another. And instead, for the holding, as I said earlier, for the holding strength, you just need to improve at that hold. So if you're trying to achieve front lever, do exercises to improve in that hold, in that position. If you're trying to achieve the planche, do exercises to get better at holding in that planche position, and so on. And yeah, that's pretty much the topic. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you have any questions, just ask me in the comments. See ya. Bye bye.